Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful and historic neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy that you're a part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Today, we welcome back our friend, Jay de laVega, talking to us about her brand new book, Petunia Brown. Speaking of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family, we are so excited because we are welcoming in the newest member of our Reading with Your Kids family, our amazing producer, Fatima Khan, and her husband welcomed into the world their beautiful baby boy. We're so very, very excited. Fatima sent me pictures of her baby. He is just adorable. Fatima, I want you to know that we are praying for you. We're praying for your family, praying for that beautiful little baby, that you will all be blessed with so many, many years of great health and great love. And I can't wait until you start sharing the books that your son loves to have you read to him. Again, congratulations to our amazing producer, Fatima Khan, her husband, and their brand new, beautiful baby boy. Welcome to the Reading with Your Kids family. Joining us on the line right now from beautiful Southern California. She's returning to the show to celebrate her brand new debut picture book. It's called Petunia Brown. Please welcome back to the show, Jay de laVega. Jay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Jay was very kind to get up early for us to be here on the show, and that is always so appreciated.
Yeah, it's sun is peeking out. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day, so I can appreciate that.
That is awesome. Now, you might remember Jay was here to celebrate her very first book, Peter Tulliver and the City of Monsters, and we're just talking about that. That's been very well received. You're really happy with the sales that you made to friends and family and fans, and that's fantastic. What kind of responses and reactions have folks had to that first book?
I've actually gotten really great responses from it. I've had some kind comments left on the book itself, on Amazon, on Goodreads. It has a 5-star review, so you can't beat that.
There you go.
Yeah, the book managed to hit the top 100 in children's action and adventure. Mm-hmm. So that really surprised me. Overall, it's been fun. It's been great. It's been a great learning experience.
That's so wonderful. Well, I want to talk more about just this experience of becoming an author. But first, let's talk about Petunia Brown. What's Petunia, and who is Petunia, and what's her story?
Okay. So I would say about 7 years ago, I wrote a picture book through a website called Storybird, and not really thinking anything of it, just writing something for my son. And last November, I remembered I had actually written this book. When I came back to read it, it was awful. Absolutely awful. But it had good bones. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to write a small children's beginning chapter book, and that was absolutely failing. And I just thought to myself, Danielle, just give yourself a small win. Just a small win. Thinking that a picture book would be an easy venture. So I took that book and I turned it into a story about my daughter, just learning about the days of the week, since she'll be starting preschool this year. I gave it to the mommies of a mommy group I'm a part of. They really helped me build on it and make it what it is now. Make it a more cohesive story, make her more of a character, and just really made her shine. So I really appreciated that. And I really love what it came out to be.
That's wonderful. I loved how you looked at this work that you had created and decided, oh, this is horrible, but you saw that it had good bones. It made me flash back to when my wife and I bought the house that we're living in now. That's we've called home for over 20 years, and there was some college kids living in the house when we went to see it, and we brought our parents over to see it. And they looked at what these college students had done to the home, and you can't bring kids here. This is impossible. It's horrible. And I'm like, no. Coat of paint, good vacuuming. I'm telling you. And we were absolutely right. We took this home that had some really good bones, and we created a home around it. And I love that you took something that you felt good about. It, the first time through, it didn't. What wasn't what you wanted it to be, but you saw the potential there, and you went back to work on it. And also love that you gathered a team around you, brought your friends, and you had them help you create that home, to take those good bones and to create a really great story out of it.
Well, the biggest thing as a writer, I know a lot of people that I connect with, the biggest thing they complain about is the loss of connection to people while they're writing. And for me, that's very, very important. I think everyone needs a strong support system. Everyone needs a strong village to rally behind them and support them, whether that's physically being there, or in my case, it's with Mommies Unite. And I've been a part of this group for years and years, and they've seen me through both my kids and have been a great sense of support and bonding with people that understand who you are and what you're about. And sometimes you need that, and you definitely need people to be honest with you and open with you and be like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, or, it's nice to have a fan base that says they love what you do, but it's also good to have someone to say, I see your potential and you can do better. Mm-hmm. So I really get that from them.
Yeah. I think that you have this kind of intuitive wisdom about writing. You when you were here on the show before, you said, you created Peter Tulliver in the City of Monsters. I think you telling me you created that for your son. And, so it doesn't sound like a lot of writers say, I've always dreamed about being a writer, and I went and I got a degree in literature and in fine arts and creative writing, and, I'm part of this writing community. You're kind of more like, just a typical person who likes to write and wanted to go at it. And you're finding support amongst the people, like you said, the people in your tribe. And it's very different from a lot of the authors that we have on, but it's working for you.
Well, when I was in college, I actually had a professor who gave me a C+ in English. And I absolutely could not stand this class because I had never received anything less than an A in English. And on the last day of class, she looked straight at me while she was giving her little speech of how much she enjoyed being our professor. And she said, and some of you should consider changing your major to English, because I was an art major. And I blew her off. And I didn't think anything of it. I went about my life. I became a chef like I planned to. I had my son, got married, did all of that, but, there was always something kind of missing. And I'd always written for myself in journals and short stories and found it easy to excel in English courses, but I never considered writing as a serious career. But lately, having challenged myself with my novels, with my picture books, I have 5 more books I plan to release this year. It's almost like coming home and realizing that you should have been at the party an hour ago. But better late than never.
Well, maybe, but maybe this was just the path that you had to go down. And, you know, that those experiences are helping. They've certainly helped shape who you are right now. And they're going to help you bring these stories out and give you a different perspective on what you're writing about.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't trade my experiences for anything. You know, I was able to see the world in the military. I was able to cook for, you know, my chief and for officers. I wouldn't trade that. It was a beautiful experience and it's been a beautiful life. So I really do think that it all came up to this moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How did you, now we talked about the writing and, you know, bringing this tribe together. You also illustrated Petunia Brown. Was that something that was a real challenge to you, or that was this something that was easier for you?
It was a challenge. And I went to school for art. I thought this is going to be easy. I'll just do it in my style. And I think I was a little bit cocky. And didn't realize how much work illustrators actually put into creating that art. It's one thing just to make art for yourself, to paint for yourself, but it's an entirely different ballgame to create a story with your pictures and make sure they're all cohesive and that they make sense. I mean, some of the pages I did 4, 5, 6 times. My character took me 2 weeks just to iron out and to get to something that was relatively okay. Mm-hmm. So it was really hard. I was surprised at how hard it was, but it was fun.
One of the things that we talked about in your last appearance was the value of reading with our older kids, and you shared some great stories about the time you and your teenage son spend reading together and talking about the different things that you're reading together. What kind of things can families talk about while they're reading Petunia Brown?
Well, Petunia is 5 years old, and she is big in every way. She has big pink hair. She has a big personality. She has a big imagination, and she dares to just dream. And while the book in itself is simple and is supposed to help parents teach children about the days of the week, because every single day Petunia does something different, it also shows them the possibilities of their future. She's building robots that are going to Mars. She's cooking up meals for the Queen. She is researching scientific feats. Like, everything is possible for Petunia, and she doesn't turn anything down. Everything is amazing. And I think that will not only inspire kids to dream bigger, but also adults to remember what it felt like to dream really big. Mm-hmm. I read the story to my daughter 2 nights ago, and the next day, the entire day, she put on her cape and she was running around and insisted everyone call her superhero. So I think once you plant the seeds of possibility, that they'll just blossom. You know, and I think that's the best part about picture books. Yeah.
Well, I really love that Petunia Brown inspires dreams and dreaming. I read this study once that showed the kids who had dreams, kids who had goals, did better in school, and it was significantly better in school. And so but the study also said that there were a lot of kids who didn't have dreams. And I thought that was, it surprised me. So I started doing, a little very informal, very unscientific survey at my educational magic shows. And I would ask kids who had a dream, who in talking about what my kids dreamt when they were younger and what their goals were. I presented those stories, and I asked the kids, if they have dreams, if they're thinking about what they want to do with their lives. And I was shocked that there was at no time, at no audience, were there more than 60% of the kids who raised their hands. And in some schools, there was like maybe 30% of the kids raised their hands. And it's, I don't know how that happens. I really don't. But it's happening out there. So I think that it's important for us as parents to let our kids know that not only should they dream, but they have the permission to dream.
Absolutely. And the permission to dream bigger. One thing I did with Petunia is the mommies in the group, they kept insisting, make her brown, because my daughter, she's very fair, she has blonde hair, blue eyes, and when the book was initially based on her, I knew that I couldn't just call it Annalise and make her brown, you know. But then I thought about it, and I thought about the quote, presence creates possibility. And I thought about how I would feel if I was growing up and I read more books where the little girl looked like me. She was dreaming and she was doing all these amazing things. And I think that's part of it. You know, presence creates possibility. If you don't know how to dream, if you don't see people that look like you, that are dreaming big and doing amazing things, then how can you dream? And that was part of the reason why I made her so big, made her so magical. You know, I wanted little girls to look at her and be like, wow, she looks like me and she is a scientist. I can do that too, you know?
You know, as you're talking about that, I had I was very, very lucky in my career that takes me, all over the country. And I was able to take my kids a lot of times. We were meeting lots and lots of people. They were able to meet people who were doing amazing things. And, my kids are bicultural in that they're Latina and Irish, heritages and ethnicities. And so they were able to meet Latinos and Latinas who were doing amazing things and different things, and the same with Irish folks who were doing amazing and different things. Not every family gets to travel around the country and meet all these different people, but we live in a time right now where we have these machines, and they're in our pockets. We carry them around. And, after we read a great book like Petunia Brown and we inspire some kids and we ask them what it is, what do you want to do when you grow up? And if our little boys or girls say, well, I want to be an astronaut, we can actually go on and find an astronaut that looks like them and show them and say, hey, there's someone who's doing what you want to do.
Absolutely. And I think that's one great advantage of the time we live in. It's very easy to find people you can relate to, but, where you can go and take the initiative and research it. Also at the same time, when you're not seeing it on a regular basis, or if you don't have someone that's going to take the time to do that research for you, it can be discouraging.
Sure.
So, I think there needs to be more characters, it needs to be accessible in their classroom. They need to be able to reach into a bookcase and be like, oh, okay, I like this. I can relate to this. So I'm absolutely loving this.
Who were some of the characters and some of the authors who inspired you when you were younger?
I really loved V.C. Andrews when I was young. Her books were just like nothing I'd ever read before. And they were dark and mysterious, and I absolutely loved them. I was obsessed with the entire Oz series, Alice in Wonderland, everything about magic and escaping the world. And just having these obnoxious, over-the-top characters. Like, that appealed to me. They were very odd and different, and I could relate to that, you know? So I love that. Gosh, I forget the author's name, but he wrote a dog called Kitty. I met him in, I think it was like 2nd or 3rd grade, and it was the first time I had ever met an author in real life before. And that was an absolutely amazing experience for me. And I read that book until it fell apart. So.
Oh my goodness. I love that. And that's really a compliment, for an author, you know, that I've read your book so much, it's falling apart and I need a new one.
Yeah, and he's signing my book and I could barely see over the table. It was just like something that really always stood out in my head. And I was like, wow, it's an actual person behind the book. So I really, really love that.
That's, I believe through the magic of that Google machine that we were talking about earlier, I think the author of A Dog Called Kitty is Bill Wallace. I don't know if yes, okay. Yeah. How has becoming an author changed you?
It's challenged me. Because, you know, as a stay-at-home mom, it always felt easy. Not to downplay what stay-at-home moms do, because it's definitely a lot. But it's always been something that felt very natural to me. Being home with them and cooking and doing the cleaning and everything like that. It was something that I fell into relatively easy. And I don't know if it's because I was in the military and going from that and then being used to being up for 13 hours at a time. I'm not sure. But just I was very fortunate that it came so easy to me, and my kids were relatively easy most days, that I began finding ways to challenge myself, whether it be start a small business or learning new crafts or whatever. But this was something that I didn't feel completely confident in. And like, I knew my writing was there, that it was good enough to read, but I didn't know if it was good enough to buy. So it's pushed me to do better, to challenge myself more, to learn what a comma is actually for. So I've just been pushing myself that way, and it's made me a better person, and it's made me look at my children's work and be like, oh, hey, let's read this book. Let's try something a little bit harder. Let's push ourselves a little bit more and find where maybe we're not that great at this, and let's do that instead. So I've been taking more challenges where I've been trying things that I'm not exactly comfortable with and pushing myself to at least try. I don't have to succeed, but at least try.
I think that's a fantastic lesson. We talk about how important it is for us to push our kids to kind of get outside their comfort zone. But I think it's also real important for us as adults, whether we're young adults like yourself or you know, someone approaching 100 like me. It's always important to kind of push ourselves and get outside of our comfort zone. It kind of makes us feel alive.
It does. It absolutely does. And I think it's especially important for adults to remember how to dream and remember how to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable, because if we're lucky, we have a long life ahead of us. Mm-hmm. And we can continue to grow. We can continue to learn and be better people. You know, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, and I'm grateful for that, because I continue to push myself and to learn and to grow. And hopefully in that learning, I can contribute something good to this world. And that's all I can really ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our past guests, Phil Joel, talked about there are so many people who stop living when they're 25 and then they don't die until they're 70.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know that you are still living and you're creating, and we're real excited about that. Remind everybody where they can find out more about Petunia Brown, also find out about Peter Tolliver and the City of Monsters, and find out what's going on with J. De La Vega.
Well, Peter Tolliver and Petunia Brown can be found on Amazon, on BarnesandNobles.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Twitter, author J. De La Vega, or Instagram J. De La Vega Torres. All my updates are there, links to my website, and all the greatest, best pictures of rainbows in California. That's pretty much all I post lately.
Well, we are really, really, really happy that you were able to come and bring a rainbow to the show today. We've been speaking to the author of the brand new picture book, Petunia Brown, J. De La Vega. Jay, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Randy Sowenshine. She is going to be talking to us about her beautiful new STEM-related book, The Nest That Wren Built. That is the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love for you to be a guest on the podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic children's book. All you need to do is go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button that you'll find at the bottom of the page. Let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy step. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guest, J. De La Vega. Please be sure to check out her brand new book, Petunia Brown, and also check out Peter Tolliver and the City of Monsters. Of course, I want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. Again, congratulations, Fatima. Can't wait to meet your baby boy in person. I want to thank my amazing account executive. Her name is Peggy Cotto. If you are looking to promote your book, take advantage of any of our wonderful author services, Peggy is the person you can contact, and you can contact her at Peggy@Jedlie.com, and Jedlie is spelled Jedlie. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support that she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio. And of course, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.